Welcome to Granny's Country Cooking, and I'm Granny. And today we are making a very special recipe that is called overseas fudge. Now this recipe was more or less invented back in World War II, where the wives would send fudge to their husbands overseas. And what they learned is by adding marshmallows or the marshmallow cream into the fudge mixture, and then that way it would last until the men received it in the mail. And so we're making that today. Now there are thousands of fudge recipes, but this is one of my favorites. Another day and time we will make another kind of fudge that has no marshmallow cream, but it has honey in it. But today we are making marshmallow cream overseas fudge. So I'm going to get things set up here in just a minute, get my apron on, get my hands washed, and if you have long hair, get your hair pulled back, and we will get ready to start making our fudge. Thank you. Bye-bye. All right, we're back. Hands are washed. I've got my apron on and got all of our ingredients set out, and got my hair pulled back, so we're ready to make fudge. Now the one thing about this recipe is that it cooks up pretty fast and is ready to go into the pan pretty fast. And when you already have it heated and you have it back over here and you're adding your other ingredients, it's going to go pretty fast, which means it's going to get really thick pretty quick. So what I want us to do is to get everything ready before we get started. This size is, I'm going to be using a huge pan because it boils up a little ways. Now the fudge isn't going to be this much, but it's going to be boiling up a ways. So we need a nice heavy. This is a very old-timey pressure cooker pan that I use for everything, for fudges and candies and everything. Now the ingredients that you will need is you're going to need unsalted butter. You're going to need sugar, of course, and you are going to need a little bit of salt. Sea salt is what I use. You're going to be needing carnation evaporated milk, then the marshmallow cream. You'll be using the whole jar of this. You'll be using vanilla, and please use the pure vanilla if you can at all possible. The other vanillas are a little less expensive, but they don't taste as good as well as they cook out of the flavor cooks out of the food when it gets hot. So I use only the pure vanilla, whichever brand that you like. Then we're going to be using chocolate chips, and I use around 1.5 cups of chocolate chip. These are the semi-sweet dark chips. Now if you want a lighter color fudge, you use 1 1/4 cups. If you want a darker colored and tasting fudge, then you use 1 1/2 or maybe 1 3/4 cups of chocolate chips. So that's what we have. Then if you like pecans or walnuts, you can have them already chopped up, and it's approximately 1 cup. I have a little bit more, but I love the pecans in them. Some people can't eat nuts, so you don't have to have them. All right, then what you need is, this is considered an 8 by 8 by 2 size pan. It's 2 inches deep, and it's 8 inches and 8 inches, and that makes a nice square. This size with this recipe will make nice, big, thick chunks of fudge. Now you want to have it ready, because when the fudge is ready to pour, it may not come out of the pan very well if you're trying to get your pan ready. So you want this ready, clean hands. I have like a little 1/2 teaspoon of butter in here warming up, and I'm going to smear it all around and get it all ready. So we'll be doing that in just a minute. Another thing that you're going to need is you're going to need a wooden spoon. And the reason why is because we are going to be using a candy thermometer. I love to use these, and many people don't have to use the candy thermometers or don't want to or don't know how, but they give you examples of a few drops in water and it will get kind of rubbery. Well, for new cooks, no one knows what that means. So when you're using a cookie thermometer, this recipe will go up to 234. Some recipes are hotter, some are less, but this one is 234. So we will get that going here in just a minute when we have it on the stove. And the reason why we use a wooden spoon is because a metal spoon cooking the fudge soaks the heat into the metal spoon, and the heat won't make the fudge get hot enough. If you use a wooden spoon, the heat stays into the batter, the cooking fudge that you're cooking, and it makes it get to the right temperature a lot quicker. So we are using a wooden spoon. Now, I've mentioned in other videos that some of your wooden spoons will absorb the flavor of what you use it for. Like if you have Spanish spicy food, your wooden spoon is going to have that flavor. It wouldn't be good to use that same spoon in the candy. So what I do is I have lots of wooden spoons and I write on them what this spoon is for. And this one is written on there, says candy. So I don't have any spices that have soaked and absorbed into the spoon. Okay. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to measure the sugar to go into the fudge. And this recipe wants 3 cups of sugar. Now, make sure your hands are nice and clean. Okay, now we're going to just dig it in. And we're going to scrape and make it level. There's 1. All right. And then this one will be 2. And then we will have our third, 3 cups of sugar. Some recipes call for more, but this recipe calls for 3. Okay, we're going to get that out of the way. Now it also calls for 2/3 of a cup of carnation milk. And a full can doesn't have enough, or it's more than 2/3. So I usually save what's left in the refrigerator, put a little top on it. Now this I measured a while ago is 2/3 of a cup of carnation milk. I do like the Carnation brand. Okay, we're going to pour this in there. Try to get all of it out. Use the wooden spoon, and then I have a little spatula that you can get the most of it out. And you'd be surprised at how much stays in a cup if you don't scrape it all out. Probably maybe a tablespoon left in there. Okay, now we're getting that in there. Now, I like to have a little bucket of soapy water with bleach in it, and whenever I have something I'm not going to use again, I just drop it into the little water and it'll be almost washed by the time we're through. Okay, the next ingredients is we're going to we have the evaporated milk and we have the sugar, and now we're going to put 1/4 teaspoon of salt. These are my little antique jars that I absolutely love. And I really do believe some of these are over 100 years old, so I try to be protective with them. Now we want 1/4 of a teaspoon. I want to make sure we get that even. Okay. Now if you've ever eaten anything that's a little too icky, sweet, it usually doesn't have a counterbalance of salt. And salt kind of makes it all blend better, and it's not so icky sweet. It gives it kind of a more mellow flavor. Now we can stir this up, and what we are going to do is put this on the stove with the butter. The amount of butter, and it's unsalted butter. The amount of butter is going to be 1.5 sticks of butter. And we will put that in here after I stir it up just a little bit, kind of get that going. And then we'll put our butter in there, and we will move the camera and everything over to the stove in just a minute so you can watch while we make this delicious fudge. And while this ingredients is heating on the stove, I will be smearing the butter around in the pan. That will make it taste so good. Okay, now let's put in our butter. So we have 1.5 sticks of butter. Okay, there's one. Good aprons. And I also wanted to say a special hello to one of my favorite fans, and she loves to watch my videos. And her name is Prissy Lynn, and she is a little fur baby. And at the end of this video, when it's all finished, I will put her beautiful picture up on the end of the video. But right now, she's watching me, so I'm going to say hi, Prissy Lynn. Love you. She is the fur baby of one of my very, very best friends for many, many years, Mary Lisa. So this is going to be for Mary Lisa as well as Prissy Lynn, and she loves to watch the videos. So now we're going to pause, take all of this over to the stove, and we will add the rest of these ingredients in a little while. But we're first going to cook this. So I will be right back with you. Thank you. Okay, now we are back and we're at the stove. And as you can see, I have the big pan and I have the burners on to about medium. You don't want too high. Then we turn it down just a tad. If it gets too high, it will make the mixture scorch, which means brownish little lumps in there. And it'll have not a very good taste. So anyway, now as you can see, I have the butter, I have the sugar, and the milk in there. And what we're going to do is we're going to cook this until it is at 234. Now what that means is we've got to get it to a boil first. So because you want the burner to be fairly low, it's going to take some time, maybe 10-15 minutes to get it to the 234. So what I'm going to do, so you don't have to sit and watch me stir, I'm going to be stirring this mixture, and you go around the edges, make sure you have your wooden spoon around the edges and get all the little crunchy pieces off, and you keep stirring until it reaches 234. After it starts boiling a little while, I'm going to put in my candy thermometer. Now this one I got from Amazon. I have had an extra old one that was not working real well anymore, and these are very kind of hard to find. Yes, you can find them in the grocery stores and Walmart and places, but they don't have the specific little tiny lines that you need. If you go over 234, it won't cook right, it won't be creamy and smooth, it'll be more of a grainy. If you go lower, it's not going to thicken up. So you want to be at 234, but you have to watch it until it gets up to these points here and have the little bitty lines. So I found this one on Amazon. The name is Winco, W-I-N-C-O. It has the little hook on the back, which hooks over the pan. It does slide up and down. And so in a few minutes, I'm going to be putting this in my pan. But first I'm going to let it boil. Then I will put this in. So I won't make you stand there or sit there and watch me getting it to a boil. I will be right back. Thank you. Okay, it is starting to bubble and boil. And I don't have the camera to just go right over the top, but hopefully you can see it some. And what I'm going to do is getting this, and be careful with it, very, very hot. I'm going to get the thermometer down in there, and I'm going to hook it to the back of the pan. And now we're going to watch the little red move up to the right temperature. And remember, we want it at 234. And so I'm stirring. And right now, it's not up to 200 yet, but we will be. Now, making fudge does take a little while, but it's not difficult. It's just, you don't want to heat the batter or the mixture up too hot, because then it scorches and burns. But if you have it down at a medium temperature, medium flame, then it takes a little longer to get it to that temperature, but it's well worth it. So have a good time while you're cooking the fudge, but make sure you have a little bit extra time so that it won't be anything that's in the way. Don't ever stop and start your fudge. This is something that you cannot go away from like right now. Now, if you have an emergency, just turn the burner off and go take care of it. And I've never had that happen. So hopefully you can go right away through with the cooking and get it to the 234. Let me look and see where it's at. It's already at 220, so it's moving pretty fast. So I'm going to keep stirring, and I will be back with you in just a few minutes. Thank you. Yay, it got to the 234. The minute that it does that, you want to turn the burner off totally. Now, you can take your thermometer out, but be very, very, very careful. Very hot. Really burn your skin off. Now, this should not go into any liquid like water or anything right now. It needs to cool down because it will break that the glass thermometer part. So I'm laying it on a little spoon rest and let it cool down, and then we'll soak it and wash it later. Now we're going to move this mixture back over to the table. So I'll be with you in just a few minutes. Thank you. Yay, now we're back at the table. Now this is sitting on a very special pot holder that won't hurt the cabinet, and it is very, very hot. Now the first thing you want to do is to get the marshmallow cream, and it's one complete jar, and you scrape it out as best as you can. And yes, it is messy, but oh well, that's just the way cooking is, so we'll enjoy it. Now this fudge is fixing to go in the mail, and it's going to one of my special little granddaughters named Cielo in New Mexico. And she is having a birthday on the 28th, so happy birthday, Cielo. And this is going to be one of her little presents that I'm going to put in the mail. And that's another reason why I wanted to make this style of fudge today. All right, let me see if I can get all of this out. It seems like cooking, everything is so messy, but oh well. We wash, and dishes wash, and it's okay. And if you get it on your hands, just rinse your hands. It doesn't hurt. Okay, I think we have all of that marshmallow cream out. Now we're going to try to get as much off as we can. And we'll set that over here. If I get all of it off, it's hard to get it off. Pretty sticky. Okay, now then we're going to mix this up, stir it all up, and you continue to stir until all of the white is gone. The white will be kind of if you can see, it's kind of a yellow and a white look to it. So we're going to stir this all up until it is totally mixed. Then we're going to add the vanilla. And we're going to get that. It kind of is like a little foamy, little white cookie. I remember my mother, as I was growing up cooking beside her, she would tell me little stories, and this fudge was so special in the World War II era, in the early 1940s. And Mama said that they would make the fudge because this fudge would last longer. It wouldn't get old and it wouldn't get dried out because of the marshmallow. And then they could send it overseas to their husbands or boyfriends. And that was such a treasure for them. And that's why they called it overseas fudge, because it would last until it went overseas. Okay, now all of the white is mixed up, no little white streaks. Now we're going to add vanilla. Remember, it's pure vanilla. And we are going to use, let me look on here, 2 teaspoons. This is a small teaspoon, not a tablespoon, but a teaspoon. So we're going to do 2 teaspoons. Get that mixed in there. And as you can probably see on the table here, I have the 8x2 pan butter. And so I did that while the mixture was getting hot enough to boil. So I already have that ready to go. And you will want it to be ready in a minute because it's going to be kind of a quick thing to pour in just a minute. Now this vanilla looks like it's kind of hard to mix. And yes, it is, but not bad. And you don't want to stir too big like I do sometimes and get it all splashed around. But that pure vanilla makes a totally different flavor when you use pure vanilla. It has a better flavor and it just has a much, much better taste. All right. Now after that is mixed up, then you add your chocolate chips. Now like I said a while ago, you can either use 1 1/4 for a lighter colored chocolate, 1 1/2 for a little bit darker, or a little bit more, maybe even 2 cups if you wanted a really dark chocolate. So I have 1 1/2 right here. We're just going to put that all in, and then we're going to stir this until it's all totally mixed up together. And as you can see, it's kind of a messed up mixture looking right now, but it's going to be delicious. Now, if you do not enjoy nuts, or you have someone in your family that doesn't like the pecans or walnuts, you don't have to put them in this recipe at all. And what I'm doing now, it's already getting ready to pour into the pan. That means as it cools, it has a thicker texture that is so hard to get out of the pan. So you will see me in just a minute trying to scrape it out of the pan, but I have to get it stirred up better first before we do that. If you're stirring this up, it looks pretty to have the little streaks of cream and white looking in there, but it has a better taste if you blend all of the chocolate together. Now some recipes, there's millions of recipes for fudge. Some recipes even have other chocolate candy bars added to them. But this recipe you don't need to. It has such a delicious flavor. Okay, now it's really starting to get thick. So I'm going to have to pour in the nuts really quick. Okay, now you need to have all of these things prepared because you can see how fast it goes. And if you have to stop and chop your nuts right now, or your pecans or walnuts, your fudge is going to stick in the pan. It won't come out. Okay, now, that's heavy. As you can see, this is what it's looking like. Look how thick it is coming out. Now I'm going to try to get it all out. And it does get very, very heavy. It's really getting heavy. Okay, now I have a lot in there. And if you have someone that loves to lick the pan, I do and my husband does, if you have someone that loves to lick the pan, you might want to leave some in the pan, but not too much. All right, let me get this all out if I possibly can. As you can see, it's getting thicker by the minute. See, it's sticking on the side of the pan. Now, there's going to be quite a bit to lick in there. Now I'm going to try to get it smashed down before it gets really, really, really hard. And in a minute, I'm going to get another clean spoon and try to scrape this big spoon off. And then I'm going to try to get this big, 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 big spoon off. Get all the fudge off if I can. Of course, if you're a big fudge eater, you may want to lick this spoon like that. Okay, now our fudge is finished. And all you have to do, see, there's our pan of overseas chocolate fudge with the marshmallow cream. Now what I will do, it's kind of moving around in there. What I'm going to do is I will put it on a rack, a cooling rack, let it cool down some. Then I will cover it with clear wrap. So we are totally finished, and thank you so much for watching and being with me with the fudge today. And if you enjoy this channel, be sure and hit subscribe and also touch the like button if you like it. And I appreciate you watching so much, and thank you, and bye Priscilla, and bye Cielo. And we will see you in the next video. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye-bye.